Hi, everyone. We'll give people a few minutes to join us. And thank you, Lisa. I see you already have it up on the screen, the PowerPoint. So it's just now 3 o'clock. So we'll give them a couple minutes for everybody to log in. Yep. Let's get Great. Well, hello, everyone. I'm really excited to have you here for our first Captain's Chat of the year. And remember, when we set up these Captain's Chats, it was not really for us to talk to you, although we will be here to answer questions and stuff, but it's more about listening, because we wanted to this is our opportunity to hear from you and get feedback from you. So just know that that's part of it. We're going to do some breakouts and have some report outs, and so that you can share information. So Lisa is helping me. She is forwarding the slides, and Andrea's recording, and we're taking notes, so we're excited about today's. So we'll go to the next slide.
It's trying. Hold on.
It's trying. Okay. Yeah. Love technology.
Yeah.
So the bulk of today, although we will take questions about at the end, is to talk about social justice, inclusion, diversity, and equity. And we've deliberately put it in that order because we're spelling out SIDE, S-I-D-E. So we want Ventura College to be on the side of anti-racism. We want our college to be that safe place for our students, our undocumented students, like this is Undocumented Week of Action, our students of color, and really all of our students, because I believe, and I know you do too, or you wouldn't be in this work, is that through our support and the courses that we offering and the services that we offer, our students can better their lives, be able to support their families, and transfer to a university with their degrees and certificates, and really improve our community. So this is really important work that we're doing here at Ventura College, and I appreciate your help with this, because as you know, one person or a few people can't do it. This really is the many people's work, like the whole campus. So that's what I'd like to see. So we'll go to the next slide, Lisa. So I wanted to show you my goals. So annually I create my own goals. I have to self-evaluate and present this and discuss this with the chancellor, who is my boss. So these are my goals for the year. So these are my goals that I have written. I have not actually met again with Chancellor Gillespie to go over this, because he wants to make sure that my goals align with his goals as well as the board goals. But they do. I don't think it's going to change too much, but if it does, I'll be sure and let you know. But here are my goals. So I'm just going to briefly go through with them, because really today I want to focus on number 2. But the first one, and we've already talked about this with our themes, is to create a culture of trust, communication, transparency, and celebration of successes. That's one of the reasons why we're having these Captain's Chats, so that we can spend this time together and you can learn about learn about what's going on campus, and I can hear from you how we can continue to improve what we're doing in our practices. So my second goal is to lead efforts to close student equity achievement gaps, eliminate social injustices, and enhance student success. And I'm going to talk about that one separately in the next slide. Goal 3 is to provide support, college and support connections with the district, the community, and statewide. I really feel my role is, at least on these other and outside of Ventura College, is, well, anytime, I don't know why I would qualify it that way, is to be an advocate for Ventura College. And those of you who have seen me and who know me know that I am definitely an advocate. I'm wearing my orange today. And I really have enjoyed my time here, and hopefully you're still good, but I'm planning on being here a while. So that's just what's going on right now. My fourth goal is to develop key college initiatives related to planning and new programs, including, like, we're trying to firm up our strategic master plan. We've got our institutional effectiveness partnership initiatives, which includes our facilities master plan and AB 705, and of course guided pathways. So, and these are some more specifics related to those. And we will post these slides and this video on, I think we do it on the president's webpage, don't we, Andrea? Or do we do it on professional development? She wasn't expecting me to call on her.
No, I think you can post this on your page.
Okay, so on the president's page so that people can view it. So next slide, please, Lisa. Okay, so this was my goal, to lead efforts to close student equity and achievement gaps, eliminate social injustices, and enhance student success. So as you know, I can't do this work alone. I'm really a champion, and I'm an advocate, and I'm going to support with resources and other things, but the work is primarily done by you. You know, especially like with achievement gaps. This is really our instructors, our faculty who are working to help our students, our services that we're providing students, that is really all of us, but you know, primarily through our classified professionals, as well as our counselors and others. And eliminate social injustice. This really is all of our work. You know, this is not a time where we can sit passive, and when we see that racism or discrimination is occurring on our campus, we have to speak up and we have to do something in order to transform Ventura College and make it the institution that we want it to be. And then to enhance student success, help their completion in a timely manner, with persisting, and all those things that we can do to help students be successful. So this is our Be on the Side of Anti-Racism. And I'm going to ask you to help me to accomplish these goals. And we're going to go into some more of the specifics of the goals. But I know that the buck stops with me, that I'm responsible. And so you know, and I'm telling you publicly, that I'm going to do everything I can to move this agenda and help move Ventura College forward in this direction. So I appreciate your help. I know we have a lot of advocates in the virtual room, and I am looking forward to this journey with you and for the conversations that we're going to have today. So next slide, please. So here's some of the things that we've talked about, and we had a cross-functional group that has really been kind of helping spearhead some of this, and these are some of the things that that came from them, as well as that we developed as an exec team. I've already gone and I've spoken with all of our constituency groups. I've spoken with the Academic Senate, the Classified Senate, as well as our student government, and I'm asking for feedback related to these outcomes and goals that we want to accomplish this year. So one of the first things is to review our mission and vision. We want to have a clear mission and vision that denotes to everyone inside and outside our organization what Ventura College is about and what Ventura College wants to achieve and help our students with. So in light of that, it's time to look at our mission and make sure that it has those equity pieces in it that really reflect what we want to do at Ventura College. The next one, we want to develop our shared understanding and definitions. And I know we've talked about this in multiple groups, but we're all on a different path or at a different point in this journey. You know, some of us are tired of this work. You've been fighting this fight for a long time, and the rest of us are maybe somewhere in the middle, and some are maybe new to this work. But we need to make sure that we're all working together, because it can't be just one person, or just can't be our faculty and classified professionals and managers of colors. It has to be all of us. We have to work together. They cannot shoulder the burden any longer. They need our support, and they need us to be strong advocates in this work. Next, one of the things we were talking about is how can we all take pieces of this work? And we have our organizational structure, which includes our participatory governance committees and other work groups. And I want to ask all the chairs, the leads, to look at their charge and look at their outcomes that they want to happen, and embed this work into that, so that it, you know, it's that many hands making, you know, quick work of this. We are working on an orientation, or kind of a best practices for chairs of committees, and Philip Briggs is helping lead that, and we're going to actually talk about this more and ask them to help with if they really have those outcomes that we can measure. And at the end of the year, when we're doing our self-evaluation in each committee, we can see, hey, did we really accomplish that? And even maybe we did make some progress, but it's not enough, and we need to continue with that work. Another thing is create a web page that is a resource for everyone, so they can quickly get their hands on websites and articles and other things. And I have to tell you, our ASVC, our student group, has a wonderful web page. I don't know, Libby, will you put that in the chat room if you don't mind? It's really phenomenal, and so we want to help them with it, maybe build on it. But another things too is, like I said, I'm responsible for this work, and so I think it's important that we have like critical report outs, and somewhere where we can report out on how we're accomplishing these goals, or what has been done so far. And maybe this website would contain that too. So more discussions on that. We've talked about a multicultural center. I was on a webinar just before this one that really talked about mentoring and having that space where they felt, or students, it was a student panel, where they felt comfortable. And a multicultural center, thank you, Libby, a multicultural center could be that space, you know, where they can gain that confidence and see more students and other people that are maybe struggling with the same issues. So next slide, please, Lisa. Another thing, we did that really hard work, and I'm saying the royal we, the campus, it wasn't me specifically, but we had a work group that took it through all our participatory governance structures and got feedback from the entire campus to develop a comprehensive student equity plan. But what we need now is a summary of that plan, and to break it out into really concrete things that we want to accomplish maybe this year and next year, so that we really see the timeline of what we want to accomplish and what we're going to have to measure as we move forward. So I'm going to ask the Student Success Committee if they can help us with this work to create a summary, and like maybe just 10 or 13, whatever objectives make sense that we can accomplish this year, so that we can go back and measure whether we accomplish them or not. The next one is supporting efforts to hire diverse employees. So, this is a very complex issue. I know on the campus, and this was surprising to some people, if you've been in a faculty hire, and I'm focused on faculty, but of course this applies to all of us, but that's where in faculty and administration is where our numbers are more divergent with our student population. We really want to reflect our student population so that our students have those mentors and those role models that make them believe that they can be successful. It's really important. So one of the things I've been doing is going to the faculty, for full-time faculty, their organizational meeting, and trying to talk about these concepts and how it's really important that that we hire somebody that really helps move the campus forward, and either understands these issues and how to support our students of color, knowing that our student population is 63% Latinx. So these are important things. And also we have some really powerful representatives that are on the EEO committee as part of our district human resources, and that's the equal opportunity. And they're working on reviewing, and there's a group that's working on reviewing our practices and seeing where the leaks are. What are the barriers that we've created unknowingly that are preventing our colleagues of color from applying to our college and our district? So another thing that we were talking about is integrating these side principles into SLOs and program review. I know we already look at the data, the completion data related to equity, but maybe there's some other ways that we can integrate it more into those two initiatives on campus. And then we're also looking at integrating ethnic studies into curriculum where it's appropriate, making sure that we have diverse authors from various backgrounds. If you're in English classes, making sure that history is presented from multiple perspectives, not just the one traditional, people would say the white perspective. You really need that diverse perspective so that we can really understand what's happened in our history, so that we can make changes as we move forward. So those are really important. So how we can integrate those concepts into our curriculum. And then we're consulting with colleagues who are in the Department of Behavioral and Social Sciences and others, and looking at how to, or what would we want to create an ethics studies department, and so what would that look like? So those are exciting things that we want to get accomplished. So next slide, Lisa. Okay, so Andrea's going to put in the chat room, this is kind of the action step grid that the exec team put together, and what I'm asking you to do is we're going to do breakout sessions, and they're going to be randomized, because I think Andrea can just say put 5 people in a room, and so it'll be total random. So you'll get to visit with some of your colleagues, and if you could look over this document and talk about some of the things that that I spoke about earlier, and provide us with feedback. Are we in the right direction? How could we strengthen this, these action steps or this initiative? What do we want to do moving forward? So we believe that this is a really important topic, so you're going to have about 30 minutes to kind of go through this and discuss it with your peers. So I'm really excited, and then once you come back, I'm going to ask somebody from your group to report out. So if you could, when you get into your smaller groups, ask somebody to take notes, and ask somebody if they would mind reporting out. It could be the same person, but maybe it should be a different person. I'll let y'all decide. So Andrew will start putting us in groups, and I'm really excited about the conversation when you return. So All right. So welcome back. We still have people populating the main room. Okay, well, I hope that you had enough time to discuss and have some good feedback. Anybody want to start?
I'll go ahead and start for side group number 4.
Okay, thanks, Karina.
You're welcome. So for the first goal that we talked about were actually so the president's personal goals and the changes that you proposed. And overall, everybody was very supportive of it. So everyone gave a positive response. They were encouraged, supportive of it. So you have faculty, behind you and willing to help.
Thank you.
Then, thankfully, Eric had the side initiatives plan. He had that chart that we took a look at. And I think the topics we talked about the most were the multicultural center. There was lots of support for the multicultural center, making sure that it's a location where faculty can also use it, where faculty can use it as as a learning space to talk about equity and social justice.
Mhm.
That way, if faculty are there more often, then we can also provide greater mentorship, but making sure that it's a place that is open and comfortable for students. So its location is going to be important.
Yeah.
The resources that are there are going to be important. And it was also discussed that within this multicultural center, that there be a Dreamers Center.
And did they like a separate center or they would just be welcomed?
I think making sure that there's a Dreamers section at the very least.
Okay.
So we didn't go into details, but making sure that it's clear that, well, maybe it could be actually, this would be a great place for clubs to be able to meet. And that would include, the latest reiteration of the Dreamers, or maybe that should be a club that isn't always student driven. So most of our clubs are student driven.
Mm-hmm.
If this is one instead where we can get a staff somehow to always, somebody, a staff or faculty member to keep this going. So that, I guess, we could flesh out later.
Yeah, I think there's going to have to be a lot fleshed out with the Multicultural Center, but it's good to have the conversation now so we can keep it. And I just want to hold on, Karina. Andrea, Are you taking notes for us?
Yes. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you. You're the best. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
And we also discussed, let's see, the diversity in hiring. People supported there was a big push to try to, in recognition that the DE3 could be a part of this.
Mm.
And that it's a possible idea to have a faculty coordinator that focuses on equity in pedagogy and such.
Okay.
I'm trying to see what else we discussed the integration of the ethnic studies, and that's what we're discussing near the end, and realized that is something I mentioned, that we tend to always wait for the state to tell us what to do, but it was noted that, well, maybe VC can step forward. Instead of waiting for the state, we can step forward, especially now that the Cal States, I believe, have changed their requirement to 2 ethnic studies courses. And with the web, we talked about the web page, that the creation of a web page with resources sounds wonderful. As faculty, we definitely noted we needed to go back and look at what student governments created,
Mm-hmm.
because my concern was that this is a web page that would really address the needs of students. And as such, it's a web page that can be updated. But again, information for Dreamers, information regarding pro bono legal services for our students, the food bank information, as well as different information support groups for different groups that feel marginalized or discriminated against. So it's a web page that isn't just academic,
Mm-hmm.
or for faculty or administrators, but something that they would like. Overall, I also wanted to note, personally, I would love if we can really make a point of try to oversample students themselves, especially distinct student groups. So
Okay.
whether that be, you know, older students, our EAS students, our students who are parents, but just, I think we really need to make sure that whatever we create, we get a lot of student input and not just from leadership. And I heard like focus groups would be involved. I'm
Mhm.
concerned that that excludes students who don't have the time and resources. So if we just, you know, can use the data we have to ID these students and try to hear from them, because they're the ones we're trying to help. But overall, there was a lot of support, a lot of excitement. So thank you for both this meeting and for pushing this proposal forward.
Great. Thank you, Karina. All right. Any other group lead that wants to add to that?
I can add. This is Rocio.
Hi, Rocio.
Hi. I don't remember what my breakout group number was.
Oh, I didn't know
I
they
wanna
had
say
numbers,
3.
so you're
Oh,
good.
okay. Like, I don't know. So we kind of discussed a lot of the same things that Corina just mentioned. The first thing that we talked about was language. And one of the things that, and I think I've mentioned this before, but one of the things that I keep noticing is that we keep talking about closing equity gaps, but one of the things that we're missing in the language is, well, we talk about equity gaps and then we talk about this being anti-racism, but in order for us to work on anti-racism, we need to acknowledge that racism exists. And so when we talk about closing equity gaps, we need to be specific. So if we want to close racial equity gaps, then we need to name it. And this also, by the way, I think it was the Pathways to Equity, the webinars that the Chancellor's Office offered. There was one webinar where they reviewed the group from USC that went through all of the student equity plans for the community colleges. So that was a good webinar that actually talked about language as well and mentioned that. So, you know, we need to acknowledge racism and we need to name the equity if that's what our target is. The other thing, the same goes with achievement gap. Achievement, the newer language that's being used is opportunity gap. Achievement tends to refer to or assume that the achievement is in our students, but we're not actually offering the opportunities for them to allow them to achieve. So, you know, we need to like look at opportunity gap language versus achievement gap. We talked about diversity hiring. And what does that mean when we talk about diversity hiring? Diverse in general? Are we trying to, you know, match the population of our students to our faculty? What do we mean when we say diversity hiring? And along those lines, we talked about the onboarding process and, you know, what requirements do we have for faculty and staff and classified staff as part of this anti-racism work? Competencies, is there anything that, you know, we're going to require them to do being a member of our campus community? So just overall, like when we talk about diversity hiring, what does that mean? And then we also discuss the Multicultural Center. And I think that there may be a disconnect between what our students want versus what we think they want. And, you know, there's concerns about this being another space where students become siloed. And I was on that guided pathways webinar where we had the student panel, and students are obviously sharing that they don't feel safe on campus. And one space is, you know, not going to solve the safety issue. The students should feel safe on all our campus, as we all know. But we're concerned that we need to be very careful that this doesn't become the only space where students feel comfortable. Students need to feel that they belong, and they need to feel that they belong to the entire campus. They shouldn't need just this one space to feel that. Of course, that you need to get more information from students as to what they're imagining. But again, just being careful about what the students really mean when they say they want a multicultural center versus what we think they mean. I think those were the main things. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to add that I missed, but those were the main things that we discussed.
Well, that's great. And actually, I mean, I think there's some overlap, but a lot of distinct things too. So thank you so much. All right. Anybody else want to share what you talked about in your group?
Hey, Kim, Tim Harrison.
Hi, Tim.
Hi. We had a fun group, and our apologies we didn't get too far down your list there, but we got kind of stuck actually on your first one, just about the goals. And one thing that was kind of clear to, at least to us, was that information is everywhere, and especially during these COVID times, you sometimes just don't know where to look. And so I put in the chat, do you remember the planning parameters? Were you here when we did planning parameters?
We've still been doing planning parameters.
That's sent out to the college. That is it called something else? I just couldn't find it in my emails.
It would be, it's on the program review page.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I was looking for it somewhere in just a mass email. Anyway, I just put one. That's the last one I briefly grabbed. And it was interesting because, Daniela, who's been here 2 years, we had Anne, and we also had Michelle. We were just kind of talking about your goals, which you have your personal goals, you've got your executive team goals. We've had these planning parameters in the past, and we think it's great. It's just sometimes that people need to find it in one location. So thanks for reminding me. I just I couldn't find the most recent one quickly. Anyway, the point is that everyone's talking about, like, for example, diversity hirings, whether it's budget issues. I think that was a nice piece that came out from you, executive team, former executives, and it usually hit. Did you guys try to do that in April, May? What was the past timeline for that? Is that always August?
We usually do it over the summer. I'd like to get it done earlier, but we haven't managed to do that. Maybe Phil, can you put the last one in the chat so people can
have the latest one? Yeah.
Just so you know, also this year the exec team is doing our own program review, and we're doing a comprehensive. So I'm hoping that we can review our comprehensive review, and we make sure that we incorporated some of this and that, and have the discussion at CPC too, College Planning Council. Yeah.
And if you don't mind, before I pass it, Daniela was going to say something of kind of just from a new perspective. Danielle, what did you say in our meeting that kind of struck you about the parameters, or just the goals in general?
Oh yeah, well, Tim was telling us about how the parameters really gave us these big level initiatives and visions and mission and guiding principles, and that they would provide us grades or scores for the college, like success rates or completion rates or audit findings, and that they were helpful because they were these big like bird's eye view of our goals. Yeah. And I think I just mentioned that that this would be really helpful because the president goals are great, and they're really relevant, but having these guiding, these planning parameters gives us context to study those goals. So it's this larger context rather than studying them alone in a vacuum.
Yeah. And then the only other thing we notice is that, when you put review the VC mission and vision, does that also include the guiding principles, Kim, or is that something we're trying to phase out, or have you, I don't know.
I'm sorry, ask the question again. I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
The review the VC mission and vision. Mm-hmm. We also have on the website the guiding principles. Are you going to review those as well? Is that all? Yeah,
I would think it would be the whole. Well, you got to look at the whole picture. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that was our input. But overall, there's a lot of great task initiatives to tackle.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Tim. Anyone else want to share?
Hey, Kim, this is Jerry. I was in a group with Paula, Jimmy, and Shanna. Couple of things that we looked at. We felt in the first initiative that removing leads efforts to from that statement, just so that, you know, jumping right into it, it seems more of an action statement so that getting it done. We looked at the second initiative and we talked about, you know, how will ASVC engage students, because we know that right now in this environment and going forward, it's always tough to get their feedback, or how, you know, just making sure there's some sort of system there to ensure students' input is considered when you guys are looking at the mission and vision statement. We had, when was the last revision of the mission statement done? So that you can kind of see the evolution of that and helping incorporate the language needed into the new one, and that any language going forward, you know, be just racially equity focused, clear, specific. From there, we tried to go through the rest of the initiatives, but it seemed like the overarching theme was really coordinating with, and Paula, correct me if I'm wrong, Vakara, and the work that's being done through those subgroups, that seems some of these issues or initiative action steps are already being addressed. I'll turn it over to Paula because I know she can elaborate a little bit more on it.
Just that out of the Vacara County group, the Ventura County Colleges Against Racism Alliance, at each campus, groups of faculty and staff have formed to address the issues that are on this agenda that Kim, that you have. So I believe that you may have met with him. So there probably should be coordination between faculty and staff that are already working in some of these areas to some of the initiatives that you're proposing, Kim. So that's going on. And I'm not sure if people are aware of that. I just want to make sure everyone's aware.
Right. Yeah. So Vakara has been, we have had that conversation with our cross-functional team from Ventura College that have been working with this outside entity. And, you know, my thought is on that is we'll continue to work, but I'm hoping that I want to embed or build these concepts and these directions within the systems that we have, because I don't want them to go away, right? If they're embedded in our organizational structure, like unfortunately we have all the you know, systemic racist policies and stuff, you know, in our country right now and in our government, we want to make sure that we're building in those counter structure so that we are really focused on that at Ventura College. So that's why I've tried to take some of the work of Vakara and their feedback and get more feedback, like in groups like today. And then I want to make sure that's embedded in our system so that when I do retire in, you know, 8 to 10 years or whenever that is, that whoever my successor is, it's already embedded in the college and in our system so that it can't be dismantled. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. But certainly the Vakara team are partners with us in this work. And then going back to the lead efforts, just real quick, and Jerry, then I'll turn it back over. I don't want to talk too much. My personal goals are, you know, I do need the support of others. So I'm kind of struggling with changing that because, you know, I'm not closing equity gaps, but I'm going to lead those efforts to make sure that the resources and the right people are helping move it forward. So I'll have to think about that one a little bit more. Since they're my personal goals, you know, I just, if I wish I could just wiggle my wand and do that and close, as Rosia was saying, close racial equity gaps. So I'll have to add that word to it.
No, understandable. Thank you, Kim.
So what else? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, I know that was it for our group.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Tatiana. I can share from our group. Can everyone
Yeah,
hear me?
Tatiana, can you speak a little louder? I can't hear you very well.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
A little bit,
A
yeah.
little bit better? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I will try to speak loudly. Okay, so just some of our observations. Starting off, I think this was sort of already said that it's important to define the terms when we're looking kind of at everything, but in regards to equity in action, to make sure that we're all on the same page and kind of just throughout to make sure that yeah, this is great. Define the terms. I think Rocio was starting to talk about that, so I won't review that again. And I think also these are other things that have been echoed as well. The idea of moving more from discussion to action as we're talking about anti-racism and some of these other important things that we're learning more about, we're thinking about. How do we make this
You know, Tatiana, it's really hard to hear. Am I the only one that can't really hear? And there's like, it's almost like someone's hitting the mic.
Oh no, okay.
Is there someone else maybe in your group that
Yeah.
Mike could add to it?
I don't know if Anne or maybe Phil.
Yeah, I can add. So I think we didn't have a whole lot that was really different from some of the stuff that's already been mentioned. I think we did discuss some of the same things that Rocio was talking about related to defining terms and definitions and making sure that those were really clear and really widely communicated across the campus.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we had some other thoughts about just I think communicating out the progress that we're making, or you know, when we complete one of these things, or if we don't complete one of these things, kind of really making sure that we're communicating out the really in a transparent way, you know, how well we're doing and making progress towards these initiatives and these action steps. And Anne had a really nice idea about basically kind of doing some of that through the website, where almost kind of a really more detailed version of it for almost like the internal college communities of faculty and staff and the leads, you know, as far as like, here are the detailed action steps. And maybe that'd be something to be done via SharePoint or OneDrive or something. And then for the, you know, outside or larger college community, having something that would just, you know, kind of hit the bigger points. And here's some of the things that we're working on. Here's some of the outcomes that we're looking to achieve. And so kind of having like, I don't know, like kind of like a glossy book, I guess, type thing, like that would, or even on the web page, that could really communicate to the external community what we're working on and what our outcomes are and what we're planning to achieve. And then internally kind of having a more detailed type document for the leads and those who are actually, you know, working to complete all the action steps.
No, I like that, because I think if we did a website and we had the overarching stuff, the more general stuff, I think that we could, if we put it in SharePoint, we could put like a hyperlink for employees, or, you know, and it could go to, and you could only access it if you sign in with your user ID and stuff, and get that more detailed access. So we can look at that. Sorry, I was getting choked. All right, anyone else? Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Tatiana. I'm sorry we couldn't hear you very well.
Kim, I'd like to add, this is Paula.
Sure, hi, Paula.
So I think in our group, I really think it's important that the use of language is really extremely important. And Rocio brought that up. And so there are 2 documents from the Center for Urban Education that are out now that they just put together September 2020. And it really, we want to reference them in the reading materials, because I think that they are very good learning tools for what is a language that we could be using that is going to be effective. So I'll send them to you, so maybe they can be distributed to all faculty. And I think that is really addresses the language that is important that we use.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, anyone else? That's okay if there's not. We need to be moving to our next topic, which is the mission. We're going to get started on that work, and I'm going to turn that over to Lisa. And of course, you know, if you want to you can always contact me. My virtual door, actually today, my real door is open in the office, and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. But, and also other areas, you can go through the Faculty Senate, the Classified Senate, the Student Government, or College Planning Council, when these other ideas bubble up. So, I hope the dialogue continues. I'm really excited. So I'm going to turn this over to Lisa, who's leading, at least starting our conversation with the mission.
Kim, I do have a question. We're supposed to end at 4:30, correct?
Correct.
So I'm kind of thinking we may not do this as a breakout group, but maybe as a large group we can do this exercise just to save a little bit of time.
Okay, sure.
So, mission statement. A lot of energy has been given to taking a look at who we are, right? And how we're supporting our students. We're looking at guided pathways. We're looking at the anti-racism work. We're looking at new programs. Taking a look at our mission statement, which I'm not going to show on purpose. However, I want to have you all thinking about what should our mission statement say about us as you think about it. So this is just meant to be an exercise to get us started. The next steps will be for us to create some conversations, some forums, to really start to really work through this. This is really meant to be a teaser. So we're going to be doing forums, we're going to be sending out surveys, we're going to be doing focus groups. There's going to be different ways to collect different information from across the campus. And somebody had mentioned, engaging students who aren't typically involved in some of these conversations. We need to get their voices as well. This is not just a conversation for associated students to be having, but students across the campus. So we want to be as creative as we can for gathering that kind of information. And then in this remote world, that is going to be challenging. So as people have ideas, jot them down, because the group that comes together to talk about this with me, I'm hoping we can be real creative on how we approach this. So following today, so I don't lose anybody between now and 4:30, following today's conversation, watch for an email for an invitation for the next steps so that we can create a working group that's going to partner the Academic Senate, the Classified Senate, the associated students, people from across the campus coming together and working on this as a team. So this needs to be a large group effort, not just three people. So I'm inviting all of you to please participate with us. But as you think about it, and I'm going to change my screen here, but I want you to think about what words should be included in our mission statement that reflects our goals and our values. And as you do this, I'm going to open up a Word document. Bear with me. I can try and type it as you are giving me words. So hold on so I can show my screen. Everybody see my Word document?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. What words should be in our mission statement?
I have a question. Sorry, I don't have a word.
Sure.
Is there any kind of research material that resource that we can reference for this?
Well, this was meant to be more of like a cold, like we're just going to say, like, for example, our mission statement better say something about students, right? So we would have students represented in our mission statement. So this was meant to just, what do we find important? What are our values? What are our goals? What things do we want to have identified in our mission statement?
So Arbor wrote inclusion in the chat room.
Thank you, because I can't see the chat room when I've got my screen on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Equity, safe, or other.
Okay, now you guys are going to see how bad I type. Equity, and what was the second one?
Safe.
Faith.
S-A-F-E, safe.
Oh, safe. Thank you.
Safe. That Texas twang threw you off. Hispanic serving institution, education.
And I'm putting in hyphens because when we create a word cloud, I don't want to see it as 3 different words.
Mm-hmm.
What was the next word?
Education. Oh, affordable education.
Oh, thank you.
Or is that separate, Anne? I'm sorry. Maybe it's
Separate. It was separate. Maybe
if they're
it's-
separate.
I don't know.
Sorry.
I hadn't thought about it together. I was thinking.
Okay, so
about
separate, sorry. And
it.
then environmental education, educational experience.
Sorry, that was supposed to be experiential learning
Oh, okay.
environment.
Experiential learning environment. Thank you.
Experiential learning environment. Yeah,
Got it.
sorry.
So I don't know that you'll be able to do a word cloud, Lisa, because because we're doing it as a group. So transformative social justice.
Oh, that's right. Word cloud won't work for us because we're not going to get duplicates.
Right.
You're right.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do it as part of your surveys that you do at some other time. What about, what's our purpose? Education, but what else do we want to happen? Oh, someone wrote community.
I'm trying to think of a word that's like more futuristic. So whatever they're studying now, it's going to kind of open the gates to careers in the future. So future forward.
Okay.
And opportunity.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. Supportive.
Diverse.
Diverse. Rigorous. I'm just reading what's in the chat room, so you know. All right.
Anything new?
Engaged, welcoming. All right.
Okay.
So y'all want to look at our mission and see what it actually says.
And my thought is now we would do a similar activity with our students. What would our students like to see in our mission statement? Right? So that we can kind of compare, because when we have our perspective and the lens that we use, it's going to be very different than what our students might suggest. I'm shifting now to our, let me see, is that the right one? All right, come on. So this is what our mission statement is now. Somebody want to read it? Would you like me to read it? At Ventura College, we transform students' lives, develop human potential, create an informed citizenry. Woo.
I have a hard time with that one too.
It's been a long day. And serve as the educational and cultural heart of our community. Placing students at the center of their learning experience, we serve a highly diverse student body by providing innovative instruction and student support, focusing on associate degree and certificate completion, transfer, workforce preparation, and basic skills. We are committed to the sustainable continuous improvement of our college and its services. So we hit quite a few of the words that we came up with.
Yeah, there's been a couple added since we went to this. We have exciting, culturally competent, and then I think Rocio was, I think her up carrots were supporting culturally competent. So I think that got two.
Okay, so exciting and culturally competent. I will put those both on that document as well. So again, we're trying to make sure that our mission, and then of course, looking at our vision and our guiding principles, going through these and making sure it reflects those values that we have, the desire of what we want to say about ourselves and what we're doing for our students and our community, as well as as for ourselves, right? The organization, how do we describe it? So I'm inviting everybody to please participate with us. We'll be sending out hopefully an email in the next couple days for invitation to people who would be interested, but we will be holding additional events to have conversations we have much more time to really take a look at it. We can look at other mission statements that colleges have posted across the state, across the nation. There is a lot of information out there on how to write mission statements. So we want to make sure that we take a look at the research and really come together so that we can create something that makes sense. The timeline, we want to make sure that we send this through our governance structures in the middle of spring so that everybody has some input into the final draft. So we will be getting on this pretty quickly. We want to start these conversations now so that we have something formed in the early part of the spring semester so we can start sending it through for various reviews. And then that way we can hopefully have something in place that we can affirm at the beginning of the next fall semester. Any questions, any thoughts?
Abra added diverse in the chat, but I think we already had that one.
But I'll double check. Thank you.
Right, so overall, from what it sounded like, I mean, we're moving in the right direction. We still are going to be tweaking it and getting input. And I see that, you know, our plans are going to, the plan's going to evolve, right? As we're having those conversations, you know, we'll be making changes and suggestions, you know, like we've got some initial input on the multicultural center, but, you know, as we engage our students and get more feedback from others, it'll be interesting to see what we hope it'll look like moving forward. So very exciting. I really appreciate your time today and engaging in this conversation. And more importantly, I appreciate your work in this area because it will take all of us to make sure that Ventura College becomes the place that we want it to be to support our students and our employees, and especially our employees of color, and make sure that this is a welcoming space for everyone. So thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Ara.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.